I'm so sorry. I should not have neglected you. I really apologize. Hi everyone, and welcome to a new video. Today dedicated on how to maintain the bike, and straight away you can see how lazy I am and how the conditions of the everyday commute have made my bike a proper mess. So this is not a fake video, as in the bike is really dirty and I will be showing what I do to clean the bike and making sure that it goes back to a reasonable standard. The chain, as you can see, is a pack of rust, sand and mud everywhere, so a proper wash is really needed. Now I'm going to share my routine that for some of you might entail selling your flat and buy a house with a garden, so I understand some of you might use the shower instead. In the garden you can rest your bike on a stand like this or use a cheaper version. The same work in a very similar way. Of course, the higher up stand is a lot more convenient. First, we will look at the chain, because when the bike is dirty, you want to start here. Otherwise, with a clean frame, you will then move to the chain and ruin everything you've done so far. You don't need a big pressure to clean the bicycle, so you can use just a water hose in your garden. However, thanks to my good friend Davide, I got a more powerful way of washing my bike. I can go really medieval on the bike now. Of course, you want to make sure that you don't go too hard on bearings, on headset, but this is the bike I use for the commute. I can be a little bit more forceful. After the first rinse, I use the Pack Tool chain cleaner, the Cyclone CM 5.3 exactly. This is very useful to degrease the chain or use your wash. Now, I've been using Squirt Lube for a while, so I don't usually degrease the bike chain anymore with a strong cleaner. I just need to make sure that I get all the dirt out from the chain links. No dilution for this one, and this is going to be the same I'm going to use for washing the bike afterwards. It is just a Halford's car shampoo, actually better than the Fairy Liquid that I used before. Some say that the Fairy Liquid has got some salt inside, so it's not actually good for your bike. I'm not sure about that, but for now I've been using the car shampoo with the good results. I can put the bike level and I just spin the chain, trying to get as much dirt out as possible. This is a quite useful tool. You might want to do this a couple of times if the chain was really dirty. And at this stage I will remove the wheels to access the rear derailleur and the jockey wheels and clean the wheels properly separately. Very useful tool is a fake hub, so I can still use the tension on the chain if I want to clean it properly. And don't forget to use some plastic gloves to avoid ruining your hands. Now at this point I will make an emulsion with the car shampoo and a sponge to clean the rest of the bike. Just 1 cup is more than enough, because yes, it's very concentrate. Starting from the top. I will use the soft sponge for the frame and a different sponge for the brakes and the wheel track, because they will have a lot of residue, very dark black matter, yeah, that you don't want on the frame. You don't want to spread and scratch all of it. You can access from here the jockey wheels, make sure that all the grit is gone. From the derailleur as well, And it's very important to clean the brake track from the grit and any debris that could be still there. On these wheels I'll be really quick just to make sure that the brake track is clean. You can use the dedicated brush to go on each cog and make sure that you get rid of all the big debris that are still lodged into the cassette. At this stage we can rinse the bike just with a water pump, and I think I'm going to use the pressure washer just because I can. I have to confess I haven't used the pressure washer on the better Ultimate I used to have, but I'm not going to tell this one. For the chain and the cassette it's best to go just with the pressure of the water and not going with full force with the pressure washer. Guys, a quick note on the lube I've been using for many years now. Squirt, not only on my summer bike, I used to have this on my stolen bikes, but now also on my winter bike that goes through the harsh winter season. Yes, it might sound counterintuitive, but I've been finding a very good result with the Wax Emulsion Squirt Lube, this convenient package without you having to cook the chain, wax it and rewax it periodically. This is really good because once you clean the bike, the component seems to be clear of any residue, come back to life, and this is a bike that I've been abusing a lot. These Sora components were the ones that I used to have on my Merida Sculptura that I dismantled. So this is the original chain, now completely worn, but it's still working fine. So I've been almost running a test on to see how long this chain will last with the old cassette, still riding perfectly fine, even though it's now off the scale for the wear. And as I have to say, thanks to Squirt, because yes, you might need to reapply more often, but at the end of the day the results are really good, because I used to ride the wet lubes for the winter with this one, and even with the Porsche Mac-Off, the bike components end up in a black muck, yeah, not off, and it's almost impossible to get rid of it even with a stronger degreaser. So for now, no wet lubes, and I'm only going to use Squirt for winter and summer riding. I used to have this ceramic lube for summer. Yes, maybe it's riding fast for the first applications, but this washes off quite easily. Again, not good either. Now I'm going to dry the bike, and I can introduce one of the best investments I made for my cycling. Guys, this is insanely good. I copied this from someone on Instagram, I can't remember, I think it's a quite well-known influencer. I have to say this is such a joy to use because you can dry your bike very quickly, and especially in the winter months it's so important for you to store the bike without much water residues. Cause so much problem for the long-term maintenance of the bike. So I'm going to give this a blast, making sure the bike doesn't fall. Again, don't go crazy with bearings, headset, because you don't want to also get rid of all the grease that is inside. And of course you can use a cloth and a microfiber to make sure that the work is done properly. Make sure that the chain is really dry before applying any lube, otherwise it will wash out, especially with wax-based emulsions. You can also use some multi-purpose lubricant, really sparingly on maybe the brakes, making sure that it doesn't go on the brake pads, of course, and on the jockey wheels, again very lightly, because you don't want to go over the chain. You can use a dirt rag just to shield the blast of the spray. Maybe on the springs of the derailleur, but again not too much. With the bike clean and dry, it's time to use the lube on every single roller. Yes guys, I know that is time consuming, but you have to just put the lube on the roller itself and not on the whole chain, because the problem with Squirt, and this is what some people have not liked about the product, is that if you put too much you will end up with black residue, and this is where you have applied too much of it, and of course it gets dirty, especially if the chain wasn't clean in the first place. First time you get a new chain, you have to strip it completely from the transport grease, because Squirt wants to be applied on a free of any oil and grease chain. If you keep degreasing your chain and reapplying, then eventually you will get rid of the black residue, as long as you don't put too much product on it and you let it settle before you ride again. Once I do a full chain, I will stop and let it settle overnight before I ride the bike again. Guys, it's a very simple routine. You don't need the power washer, you don't need the blower to dry the bike, but they are a good addition. Yes, the stand is needed, maybe not a fancy one. If you don't have the space, a simple one can also work, but these are the basics to get your bike clean and efficient for the long term. Let me know in the comments your suggestion. If you do have anything that I missed, I would love to hear in the comments. Guys, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you to the next video. Ciao!